First-time visitor to the show. Dr. Anthony Clarke is president of GTCC, and we welcome you to Triad Today.
Well, thanks, Jim. Appreciate you having me.
Tony, you were named president, I believe it was in the latter part of 2019. And so because of the pandemic and everything else, it's the first time you and I have had a chance to sit down and talk in person.
That is true.
I do know a little bit about you, that you went to West Point, but what I'd like to hear is, where did you grow up, and who or what led you to education?
Sure. Well, I grew up on the East Coast. I was born in New Rochelle, New York, and my dad worked for General Motors, so we moved around a little bit. In kindergarten, I was in New Jersey. Second grade, I was in Massachusetts, and seventh grade, I was in Ohio.
Golly.
Yeah, grew up in suburbia. I mean, you know, people say you're from the city or the country. Well, I was from the suburbs.
Were your parents educators?
No. My dad, as I said, worked in General Motors Human Resources, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom.
Okay.
And so we had 6 kids, so I'm the second oldest of 6.
Yeah, and the reason I was asking is because I'm wondering, was it a teacher, an instructor, an aunt, an uncle, anybody that sort of put the bug of education in your, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure your dad wanted you to go to college,
Sure.
that kind of thing, but you chose this path. Why?
Well, I'm not quite sure. I chose it from the perspective of I've done a lot of other things before I got to this path.
That's right.
But I always just loved learning. I just took to school. I was strong academically. I just loved learning. You mentioned West Point. I mean, I studied military history there. I remember going to the library and going into the stacks and looking at, you know, papers from World War II and things.
Wow.
And it was just, you know, just great. And so I just always loved learning. And so I was always sort of drawn to academia. So I think that's why after industry, I ended up at Gateway Community and Technical College.
Yeah, you've
in
done
Northern
almost a couple
Kentucky.
decades in private industry. So,
Yes.
Yeah.
So so that's, I mean,
Yeah.
But I was always interested in education. As a matter of fact, right after I got my MBA, I started teaching adjunct, and I was an adjunct teacher for almost 15 years. So I always had my sort of foot in the door there.
I'll circle back to the industry thing in a second, but very quickly, what drew you to GTCC, and why are you so passionate about the mission?
Well, what drew me to GTCC, I was president down at Southeastern Community College in Whiteville, been there about 5 years, and I was just thinking about getting to a different challenge. And I wouldn't say a bigger challenge, because every college has its challenges, but I was thinking about a bigger college, and obviously GTCC is bigger than Southeastern Community College. And then as I was thinking about colleges in North Carolina, GTCC was on the list because of that reason. Plus, it serves one county, which I sort of was used to sort of focusing on one county. But really, it was the manufacturing and distribution focus and industry that's concentrated in Guilford County. And with my manufacturing background, I thought it might be a good fit. So when the job came open, I applied, and then I was honored to be selected.
All right, I said I was going to circle back to industry very quickly. With all that experience you had in the private sector, how do you sort of bring that experience? How does that help you meet the needs, not just of the students, but of area industries that you need to help get those jobs, you know, the students to those jobs? How does that help?
Well, first the students, I mean, I think from that perspective, I bring a little stronger focus on workforce about what is the result of the degree, or what is the result of the certificate that they're getting. Are they getting employable skills? And whether it's going to a 4-year school and then getting a career, or getting a career right out of GTCC. I think on the other, with employers, really the foundation I have in industry is really open doors at community colleges, because community colleges are very much about workforce development. Having been in industry, it really has sort of open doors in community colleges.
Well, you can talk the language of the industry too.
Well, exactly. I mean, you know, I remember at General Mills, I was a production supervisor there. You'd come in every day and you'd see either a green number if you met the case count, or a number of cereal boxes you were supposed to make, or a red number if you didn't, and it was every day. And you know, that's a pressure of performance that you know, manufacturers and other people in industry have to meet every day. And I can empathize with that. I understand that. And you know, when I go on a tour of a factory, I have a little bit different perspective. I can sort of understand what's going on a little bit better. And you know, customers are demanding. I mean, you're a customer, I'm a customer. We expect things to be high quality, on time, and those sorts of things. And we don't like excuses as customers. And as an industry, you're always sort of meeting those customer demands.
Well, I just think it's great. You know, a college president who has that experience in industry can talk the language and make it work for the students who need to get those jobs, and for the industries who need the employees. I just think it's great. I want to put something up on the screen before I forget. GTCC.edu is the main website. And there's so many things I want to talk with you about. Will you come back sometime?
Yeah, I'd love to come back. I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot for everything.
Well, thank you for your time.
All right.